Solve for x without the use of a calculator. Now we have casual calculator. It allows us to use a calculator without using a calculator. Now, what is the first mark here for a learner? As soon as you see this thing here which has a square, you see this part here which has a square, you see this part here, it tells you which it's something that we call a quadratic. As long as you have a variable to the power of 2, it makes it to be quadratic. How does a learner solve something which is quadratic? They are going to group everything one side and make sure which one side is equal to 0. So what as a learner you need to do for 2.1, with 2.1, you are going to do the following. They are going to group everything one side, meaning which you are supposed to take this to its other side. And then for 2.1.1, you're going to have 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 is going to be equal to what? It's something called putting it in a standard form. We give you a mark for doing that. And then what is the standard form? The standard form is in a descending order. The order is such that you start with the one with the highest degree. The highest degree is the one with the highest exponent, the variable with the highest exponent, which is squared. It's followed with the one with the power of 1. And then the one which doesn't have any x on it. So it's like in a descending order. Standard form, we give you 1 mark. So this one is also another mark whereby they are trying to say don't get 0. Because there's no math here. You didn't do anything. What you did was, I saw a square here. I think there's a square here. I say I'm going to group everything one side such that I'm putting 0 on this side. Next, you should be able to identify what is A, what is B, what is C. Now, what is a quadratic equation? Any quadratic equation is given as ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, the thing that is before x squared is called a. This one here is going to be called a. This one here is before x is going to be called what? B. This one which doesn't have an x on it is going to be called what? C. Why do you want this? You want this if you are using this calculator, like the one that Mahua is using. If you have that one, then you can go to your calculator and inform your calculator and say, here's what I have calculated. You tell the calculator, you say, I'm going to go to mode. On mode, I'm going to go to equation 5. And then you go to 3. And then they ask you, what is A? You tell them, what is the value before x squared? You tell them that one. The value before x squared is 2. Say 2. You press equals 2. The value before x. What is the value before x? 5. You write minus 5. You say minus, and then you say 5. Equals 2. The value that doesn't have an x on it, you say this is minus 3. Equals 2. Now, they tell you what is x1. You tell them, okay, according to this thing here, I have x1. X is going to be 3 or the other one, you go to your calculator again. It says which is going to be minus 1 all over 1 all over 2. Now, basically, you are done if you have this calculator. Then the question is, what if I don't have this calculator? How am I going to do this question? Because not everyone has this great calculator. So if you don't have the great calculator, you are going to do it by factorizing. Factorizing, you have many options. Number one, you can use what we call a quadratic equation. If you don't want to use a quadratic equation, you can use factorizing. I've seen it was a learner from this class. They used the method that we're using when we first saw each other. They said something like this. They said we have 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 is going to be equal to 0. Now they said we're going to write minus 5. We're going to write minus 5 in another way. What is the best way so that we can write 2 minus 5? This thing here, this one in the middle here, we can write it in another way. And then, if you don't want to do it that way, you can open 2 brackets here. And say, which I have 2, I have 2. I have 2, I have 1. What is 2 multiplied by 1? It's 2x squared. Everyone is happy, doesn't it? And then I have minus 3. Now, what are going to be the factors of minus 3? The factors of minus 3 is going to be equal to minus 3 and 1. The question that we always have is that, how do I know which I need to put the minus 3 there? I'm going to say 2 multiplied by minus 3, you get minus 6. And then you say 1 multiplied by x gives you plus x. If you say this 2 here, they're going to give you what? Minus 5. That's what you want. Then here you have plus, and then here you're going to have a minus. This is equal to 0. They will give you a mark for this. And then you say you have 2x, which is going to be equal to minus 1. You take the 1 to this other side. Yes. And then you have x minus 3, which is going to be 0. You take the 3 to this other side, it says x is going to be 3. Divide by 2, divide by 2. Negative 1 all over 2. Yeah, and then they give you 1 mark for both answers. 2.2. Oh, 2.1.2. 2.1.2, it's an exponent. When you're dealing with exponents, the basis should be the same, especially when you're dealing with an equation. So what are we going to do here? We have this part here, which is 1 all over 2. Now, this 1 all over 2 as a base 2, we are going to write it as 2 to the power minus 1. And then you still have 3x minus 1. 128 as a prime base. You can check it in your calculator, this thing. What is 128 as a prime base? 2 to the power 7. It's 2 to the power of what? Of 7. Now, from here onwards, you can clearly see which we have base 2 and then also have base 2. Ne? The base 2 and the base 2, they are going to multiply each other. And then we have minus open bracket 3x minus 1, which is going to be equal to 7. Then, if you work with this one here, you have negative and a positive. What is a negative and a positive? It's minus 3x plus 1, which is going to be equal to what? To 7. Take this one to this other side. 6. Yes. Then what do you have? You have minus 3x, which is going to be 6. Divide by minus 3, divide by minus 3. Is it positive 2 or negative 2? Positive. It's negative 2. Huh? Why positive? Why? Yeah, actually we took this one, it became minus 1. Yes. Yeah, and then we have 7 minus, then we have positive 6. Then we have 3 and 3. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and then give us negative. So therefore x is going to be, okay, let's write it here. X is going to be equal to minus 2. Writing this as a prime base, simplification, dropping the exponent, and then the final answer.